Continuing to enumerate NetBIOS information, we can use a tool that is actually more versatile than that, called Hyena. And I've already installed it out of the Module 4 tools. So I installed Hyena already. And we're going to go to Start in Server 2016. And we're going to go find Hyena, go scroll down, find the H's, expand Hyena, and find Hyena and launch it. And up comes registration information. We are just doing a trial, so we click OK, we click OK. So right now you see the local workstation. You can expand, and there's information already about Server 2016, including its drives and all the folders. Pretty cool, huh? Including any local connections, any users, any groups, loads and loads of built-in local groups, any printers, any shares, any sessions, which we have none, no open files. How about the services? If we double-click services, probably see a whole list here in just a moment. Yep, here are all the services and their status. I kind of like how you've got green or red, assuming that you're not colorblind or have some sort of visual disability. We can see the drivers. I double-click it, and I'll see all the drivers. Here are all the drivers. I can see any event manager events. So here are just events from like system, and these are the event log events. Here's disk space. I can see user rights. So there's a lot of stuff here. Loads and loads of user rights, like a network logon user right. If I double click one of these, I can see who has the right to log on, everybody in Server 2016 Network Interactive. So lots of user rights. And if we go back, let me just collapse some of these things because it's getting so long. I can see performance information. I can see any scheduled jobs. I can view the registry. Man, this goes on and on. This is awesome. I can do WMI queries. And that is it for just the local machine. Lots of enumerated stuff. And then in the enterprise, if I have multiple computers or multiple networks, I can find out about those. Now, we can add a domain. We can add the example.com domain, and we can search. Let's just kind of look at the tools. We're just going to look around here. So we could click File, and we could add a domain and view the domains. And when we have domains, we could do queries against the domains or against WMI, which is something that Microsoft provides that allows you to query hardware and software. So we could do those things. We could also change, we could manage how we view our objects here. There's some Active Directory queries here. We can export things. We can print. We can get rid of things. We can insert things. So there's lots of different possibilities here. We can create different things and filter and refresh our view and that sort of thing. Come over here, we can show hidden shares, view admin shares, sort users by their name, look at and manage and execute tasks, and configure tool settings. So lots of really cool stuff that we can find. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to enumerate some information from Active Directory. Now we know that Server 2012 is an Active Directory domain controller for the example.com domain. It's the only member of it. None of the other machines are members, but that doesn't matter. So let's go to File, and let's add domain. The domain name is example.com, and we can click OK. And so it shows within our list of objects, ActiveDirectory.com. And we can do LDAP searches, which is what Hyena will do. It won't just do NetBIOS. Now, the trick about this, and we're just going to click OK, is when we click example.com, you get an error message. Error finding domain controller for domain example.com. The specified domain either does not exist or could not be contacted. If you have taken an Active Directory class, you know the reason for this is because the client, this Server 2016 machine, I'm just clicking OK. The client here, this machine here, Server 2016, is not using the right DNS server. We have to have this client use the DNS server that has Active Directory records in it. And just so you understand really quickly, let's go over to Server 2012. So here's the domain controller that we're targeting. And I'm going to log in as administrator with the password of capital P A $W0RD. Well, I have to click in first. Capital P A $W0RD. Press enter. So I'm in as the administrator, and in a moment Server Manager will launch. If it doesn't launch, we can always click it. So we can click Server Manager, and we can either click the local server and see, well, actually on this side, we'll see the DNS service installed. And when we click DNS, we can see that Server 2012 R2 has DNS installed on it. We can right-click this, and we can open DNS Manager. That's one way to open DNS Manager. The other way is just in Server Manager, click Tools, and go to DNS. And then it brings up whatever DNS server is installed here. So we're looking in DNS that is running on Server 2012. And when we expand the forward lookup zones, which you know from Network Plus or Active Directory classes, these are the name to IP DNS lookup databases, if you will. And we can see example.com. Here, when we click example.com, we can see Active Directory stuff. Anything with an underscore is a service record, meaning it's this is how machines find Active Directory services, such as the domain controller, the PDC emulator, the global catalog server, that kind of thing. Take an Active Directory class to understand this. But we can also see additional records in the Active Directory domain. Now, the trick is this DNS server is running on Server 2012, which means that Server 2016 has got to use that DNS server in order to find, when I click example.com again, I try to open it, in order to find the domain controller for example.com. So we need to configure Server 2016 to use that particular DNS server and not Google or something like that. So in Server 2016, we're going to come down to Network and Sharing in the lower right corner. So you can see where I mouse over and it says Network Internet Access. I'm going to right-click this little network icon, and I'm going to open Network and Sharing Center. And if you work with, well, certainly from Server 2012 as well as Windows 8 on up, you're familiar with this. Sometimes the icons look a little different, but the idea is the same. In Network and Sharing Center, in the control panel, because we're now in the control panel, Network and Sharing Center, we're going to change adapter settings. And here's the adapter for Server 2016. We're going to double click it, and we're going to go to its properties, and we're going to go to TCP/IP version 4, and we're going to double click that and open the property sheet. You can see right now that Server 2016 is going directly to the Google DNS server, 8.8.8.8 with a backup of 8.8.4.4. Those are Google. Google doesn't know anything about example.com. We have to tell this client, this DNS client, to use Server 2012 as the DNS server. So it's, in my case, 192.168.75.12. Yours might be a slightly different subnet. The backup, I don't care about. Click OK, close. Now that this thing will go not to Google, but instead to 2012, now we're ready to do some querying. So going back to Hyena, now it does take Hyena a moment. So if we expand this, after a moment, we're going to see stuff. What it did was it automatically went out and queried using LDAP, which we know from other classes is the search and edit protocol of a directory service, such as Active Directory. We can find the OUs, and when we expand OUs, we can see that there are the different organizational units. If they have a little folder icon, they are true organizational units. If they have nothing, they look just like a folder without the little icon inside. They're what we call a non-OU container. But here, when we expand this, we can see all the users, all the groups, including when you set this up, you created some users here, Joe and Manny and Moo and Sally and Sue. And let me just collapse that. We can see the domain controllers. So these are all potential targets. And so here's one domain controller, and we're drilling down, and we can see things like the disk space and any events and services. Now, we've already seen this on the local machine, but now we're looking at server 2012. We can see other non-domain controller servers. I'm just going to click OK. If I get prompted, I can see any other servers. I can see users. I can see groups. I can see global groups, meaning that they are available across the domain. I can see local groups, meaning they're available across either just that server or just that domain controller, depending upon, or rather the domain controllers, depending upon the type of group. Universal groups are groups that work across all domains in the same forest. Take an Active Directory class, you'll know what all this is about. I can see workstations, and I can see user rights. So I've used LDAP in this case to automatically get loads of information, absolutely loads of information. When I click on users, I can see the users in here, and these are all targets. When I expand this, I can get information about them. I can see, now let's look at Sally. Sally is a member of the domain admins, woohoo, as well as the local admins. Yeah. How about Moo? Is Moo a member? Yes, Moo is a domain admin and a regular admin. These are high value targets. What about Manny? Manny's groups? Nope, he's just a user. What about Joe? Let's expand Joe's groups. Yes, he's a domain admin and a regular admin. What about Walya? Let's see. Nope, Walya is a domain user. Doesn't mean that you don't go after them. I mean, you prefer going after the original administrator account. This is your preferred one, because this one cannot be locked out like if you're doing a brute force network password logon. So you prefer the original administrator, but failing that, you then prefer people who are members of administrators and or domain admins group, because actually domain admins by default are members themselves of the administrators group. But failing that, you can still go after users, regular users, because there are plenty of hacks to escalate your privilege once you hack the regular user. So we have all sorts of users we can go after. We have computer names that we can go after. We know that the various computers, this computer runs a variety of services. And we can even look at the registry. We can see registry settings. I mean, it's really awesome. So Hyena is a really, really excellent enumerator. I mean, we add all sorts of stuff here, and so all we did was add one domain, and we were able to query the domain controller and get all sorts of information. So really, really excellent stuff here. And then these various tools allow us to find or filter or create various shortcuts or show different things that are hidden, and we can print information that we can find. And if we go to tools here, we can run particular tools, and we can set up some tasks. I'm going to let you continue to study Hyena to discover additional things you can do with it. So that's enumeration using Hyena.